Hello, hello, and welcome back. We are on the second to the last session already of pre-con day for Dare to Be Great 5. This is crazy that it's going by this fast, but it has been excellent. Some excellent sessions, all kinds of things going on. So this has been super good. Thank you all very much for being here with us. And we're going to continue the greatness here with the always amazing Samantha Hawkins, and she's going to be doing a session called No Bad Teachers, what we can learn from bad bosses, lazy leaders, and touchy trainers. Take it away, my friend.
All right, I appreciate you, brother. Man, can y'all believe it? This is the fifth installment. I think it was Gary the other day that was like, you remember back when we was fighting with Ricardo, like, you should do like a two and a three. And he's like, oh no, I don't know. Look at this. It's Dare to Be Great 5. I'm so proud of him, but I'm proud of all of y'all because seriously, it's y'all come, y'all show up every single time, and I'm so glad y'all showed up again. Those who's watching now and those who's gonna be watching later on the on demand at your own convenience, it's gonna be absolutely awesome. So my name is Samantha Hawkins. I'm actually at work right now. Those of y'all who know, I'm one of the traveling dispatchers. I'm doing some interim training coordinator things right now in Missouri, and bless the director who let me kind of sneak off into the office here and be able to bring this session to y'all. No bad teachers. Now, usually I like to do a little bio, and I love to mention the fact that I am a recovering sour gummy worms addict. Just putting that out there, I can always be bribed with some sour gummy worms, but this session is really important. So I'm kind of just going to delve right on in. Those of y'all who know me, yes, hey, most people know me as Sam Hawkins. And for those of you who don't, I hope by the end of this, the most important thing that I hope you will get from this is how passionate I am about training, how passionate I am about bringing training, effective quality training to every single PSAP. That's my passion. That's my purpose. And look, whatever stage of leadership you're in, whatever stage you're even in your dispatch career, you might be a trainer one of these days. So I hope you pick up a lot of the takeaways and some of the important insights and that we're going to learn in here, and that be the biggest takeaway. So I want to quickly explain to you where the title came from. No Bad Teachers. Last year, I was actually in an instructor class. And in this class, one of the teachers that was helping to certify us, teaching us all the things about instructor techniques and everything, one of the teachers made some comment and said, you always remember your best or your worst teachers. Absolutely, we know it, right? Your memories of your best, your memories of your worst. I was homeschooled, so shout out to my mom. She was pretty amazing, and she was me and my sister's teacher. But then she said something else, and she said, there are no bad teachers. I believe there are no bad teachers. Now, the way my brain works, I immediately thought of 1,001 reasons why she was wrong. I was ready in my head to fight. I'm like, well, I know that's not true. Like, I could get on YouTube right now and Google bad teachers, and I could show you some. But she went on, and so I didn't say anything, and I listened. And what she said was, every teacher teaches you something, the good ones and the bad ones. They teach you what you want to learn, what you want to do, what you should do, and they teach you the things that you never want to do. And I thought, you know what? She's right. So this title is based off that. It originates from that there are no bad teachers. When you think about bad bosses, lazy leaders, and touchy trainers, you might have all these villainous things come to your mind. I don't want you to think in terms of extremes. We could all do that. We could paint a picture of the worst possible boss you've ever had. But I don't want you to think in terms of extreme because you might narrow the scope a little too much. I want you to understand that there can be some really great people who are leaders. Sometimes they can do toxic things. They can be some great trainers who sometimes can be touchy or have moments of laziness. So this isn't just addressing the worst of the worst, it's addressing how we in any stage of leadership, any capacity of being a trainer or being a leader in our PSAP, how can we be good all the time? Not just have moments of goodness, not just have moments of being effective, but be effective and be quality leaders and trainers all the time. Because that to me is the only way to be if you're going to be a good boss, a good leader, or a great trainer. So, first of all, let's go ahead and put this out. This is not a bashing session. There will be no names dropped. We're not going to do that in the chat, right? This is not what that's about. Like I said, we're not narrowing this to extremes. And what I love about this session is because there's going to be some quotes in there from some amazing leaders in the industry who actually made some confessions and made some admissions about some early mistakes they did. And I love that because it illustrates the point that, like I said, this isn't just this villainous profile of a terrible all the way through. It's recognizing some of the ways we might fail the people in our charge. So I'm thankful for some of them who I've quoted in here who made the admissions of early mistakes that they might have done. We are not trying to harm anyone or bash anyone, although, as I say there in the little tiny print, some feelings might be hurt, but you've been warned, y'all. So here's the agenda. We're going to hear some real life examples, some quotes from leaders and subject matter experts in the industry. We're going to talk about some of the common pitfalls of leadership and training, from not being passionate, motivated in being a leader or a trainer, to being lazy, to being touchy. And I was very deliberate in those words that I used. There's a lot of discussion about toxic leaders and toxic work cultures. And I'm not diminishing that. I'm not saying, oh, that doesn't exist. I understand that. But again, I don't want to narrow the scope that it's just the toxic leader who does everything toxic. There are some great leaders that sometimes can have moments of toxicity. This is about recognizing how we can serve our people effectively and be the best, again, all the time, across the board, with everyone. And then we're going to talk about harnessing a more interpersonal and authentic style, because really, authenticity is so key to how you build trust in your people. And we're going to hear strategies for setting a consistent, transparent tone in your organization, which isn't that hard. Not that hard. Again, leadership across the board. Not touchy, not toxic, full of passion and commitment. Y'all ready for this? All right, let's go. We're going to start this off with a quote right off the bat. Amy says, "I've had good, bad, and great leaders. Sometimes the same leader has fallen into multiple of those categories. What I have taken away from some poor leaders or leadership examples is learning how I don't want to treat others. I've taken those circumstances and turned them into learning experiences to grow and better myself as a leader and professional." Amen. Amen. The first pitfall that we're going to cover all of these, but right now, we're going to delve into the passionless trainer and leader. I understand passion isn't all in all. There are going to be some days where you come into work and are you going to be just full of all the passion about what you have to do today, 12 hours of training or leading, or hey, you could be a supervisor who just found out that you're coming into 12 hours of being on a radio or having to do both and wear many hats. I understand that passion isn't the sum of it all. Purpose carries you through a lot of days as well. But you have to have passion. You have to have passion. And I'm going to tell you right now. I told y'all from the beginning, I'm really passionate about training. I'm really passionate about teaching about training. So I will say this with all the kindness in my heart. You are a leader. You are a trainer in any capacity. And you don't have the passion for it any longer, or you never had the passion for it, do us a favor. Because there's plenty of passionate trainers in this industry. Just admit, hey, it's not for me. Because passion is what helps to drive your people. It's contagious. When you come in as a leader, or you come in and you sit down with a trainee, a new trainee, you realize they're going to match your energy, right? You realize that they're going to be either as inspired as you are, as engaged as you are about the job, as committed as you are. Passion is so important because, believe it or not, it drives productivity. See, I think passion in some people's mind is, oh, it's just the butterflies and everything. Like I said, you don't feel passionate about the job. You don't have the butterflies. But passion, at the end of the day, even on the rough days, even when you go home and you've taken that bad call, but you come in again, you show up that next day because you're still passionate and you're still motivated by what you do. Oh, it drives the productivity because it's contagious. Because you can be that influencer. You can influence the passion in your PSAP, or you can drive the passion out. When you walk into the room, what do your people feel? If you're a CTO and you walk in and you sit down with that trainee, does that trainee feels ready to take on the day? Or do they pick up your energy as, that's another Monday? Because guess what? You can't get mad at them. Don't get mad at them if they match your energy. That's how it works. You know how we say in 911, one of the basic things we teach to our telecommunicators is that you don't match your caller's energy? Well, here's the thing. Your trainees are going to match your energy, and that's just how it is. Accept it. So if you don't want them to match the energy of the worst, then you better be modeling the best of the best in how you train, in how you lead. It is a simple fact. Organizations with passionate people, it's more attractive. If someone who is just sitting and observing in your PSAP, what are they picking up? Are they picking up your people are passionate, or are you picking up your people are jaded? And if they are jaded, I'm not saying jump down their throats and say, hey, why are you jaded? Because again, starts from up top too. So your reputation as an agency, your image as an agency is very much connected to how passionate your leaders are. From way up high to those who lead even informally, it is very much tied to their attitudes. They will match, your employees will match the energy of your best or worst leaders and trainers. Here's a little something. Comes straight from my boss. Tom, did you sub her? Tom says, no, ma'am, I did not sub her. Tom, didn't you get into her personal space? Tom says, well, I subbed the chair that she was in. I had to get to her keyboard. She was making a mistake. Mo says, I have found that much of training or teaching is in the delivery, caring about how the new hire or student or trainee will be open to listen and learn. Intimidation closes the doors to both of those. But more importantly, it kills the motivation to try again. And what did we just say? How passion, motivation drives productivity. So if we realize that we want our people to be passionate and we want to inspire passion, then certainly we don't want to have any kind of behaviors or characteristics that's going to drive the passion and the motivation out of them. Here's another great quote. Todd says, 20 years ago, I had 2 great FTOs and 1 not so great FTO. After 2 months of training, he mentions that he got a 3rd one, and he proceeded to do everything that the previous 2 had told him to do for the past 2 months. And in a nutshell here, the 3rd FTO turns around and is like, you're doing it all wrong. And this is what Todd learned from it. He said, a conversation with me, if the 3rd FTO had simply had a conversation saying what you're doing is fine, but during our time together, I'd like to show you another way and have you try it this way, it would have totally changed my experience. So I want to point out 2 things. This was a bad teacher, but more importantly, how my friend Todd here, how he learned from that. This is what I said to you in the beginning, how this whole session is about learning. There's no bad teachers, because the trainers, the leaders you've had that might have came up short with you or might have failed you, or maybe they had toxic moments. They might not have been generally toxic people, but they had toxic moments of leadership. I don't want to hear the complaints. I want to hear, how did you learn from it? And how you, if you are now a trainer, teacher, an instructor, a leader in any capacity, how did you turn it and make it work for you, and that you know what you would never want to do to someone who's in your charge and in your care? Let's go on to the next pitfall of leadership. We're going to talk about the touchy trainer and leader. So first of all, let's go ahead and lay this on the table. Touchiness is never the foundation you lay if you want to build trust. Trust is so important. I think it's one of the biggest components to being an effective people-driven leader. Your people have to trust you. Your trainees have to trust you. And it's so easy. It is so easy to lose trust. So much harder to build it. But we all know it's so easy to lose it. And touchy or petty behavior is one of those ways that trainers, they can create that negativity, that toxicity in the work environment. As a trainer, you know how I said about can't just expect that your trainee not to match your energy? I've been party at times, even up recently, and I've seen some times where someone who's training someone and they get petty, they get an attitude. Oh, they're not listening to me. Well, they just tuned me out. They shut me down. And I look and I go, okay, I get it. Sometimes you have those trainees that can exhibit some difficult behaviors. But at the same time, you are a leader. You are a trainer. You absolutely have to take the route of trying to be the better person. Do not match that trainee's energy and then say, oh, but they came at me. No. There is no room for sensitivity of that context as a leader or a trainer. There's no room for being just oblivious to the needs of your trainers, of your trainees. I don't know if you'll realize, but times are changing. We talk about the newer generations that's coming in and some of the needs of this newer generation. And I've heard before, oh, so we're just catering to them. No. But in the same way that when you started, however many years ago in this career, how you wanted someone to see you, how you wanted someone to understand you, understand the specific way that you might have learned. And guess what? You might say, well, nobody cared about my particular learning style, right? But we're past that, right? Doing the same things that people did to us because they did it to us. No, we're bigger than that. In evolving times, we're dealing with trainees, we're dealing with new employees, not just the generational differences, but we're dealing with differences in that we are attracting even a large neurodivergent population. They don't learn the same way. They don't process the same way. Maybe it's not that they're just being difficult. Maybe it's not their learning style. So how are we adapting to them? So my challenge to you leaders, trainers, are you making the effort to meet the trainee where they're at? I'm not saying leave them where they're at if they have zero experience and they don't know what to do. That's the whole point. We're going to build them. But you got to meet them on their level. And it seems like some of what I'm hearing is just, well, I can't read their mind. I get that. You're not a mind reader. Take time with them. Don't just be insensitive. Don't just assume that they don't want to listen. They're tuning you out. Maybe their brain is processing things differently. Maybe you haven't found that way that they need to learn. Ask questions. Here's the problem with touchy leadership. Here's the problem with petty leadership or petty training. It's hard to respect that. I don't know about you, but I can't respect pettiness. And I've realized, again, no bad teachers. Because I can't respect touchiness and insensitivity in leaders and in trainers. Well, I know darn well I better not be a touchy or insensitive trainer because that hinders so many things. You're not going to get buy-in from your people if you're touchy. They're not going to listen to you or even listen to the solid guidance that you might have to give them if they're picking up that you're touchy. You could have the best advice. You could just be like, I'm sitting on a gold mine of knowledge. But if what they're getting from you are the vibes of touchiness or pettiness, they're not going to listen. Right? Communication. I love that, Ruth. Communication is the transfer of an idea from one mind to another. She just posted that in the comments. From one mind to another with understanding. That's the key right there. A foundation of touchiness, a foundation of pettiness is not one of understanding. Right then and there, I can tell you, you can't be touchy and be understanding at the same time. And need I remind you, touchy and petty behavior sometimes escalates to more. Now all of a sudden, maybe we're not really demonstrating fairness as a leader. Maybe we're not demonstrating fairness as a trainer. And that can escalate to HR issues and other things. Yeah, I had to drop a little Brene Brown nugget in here. It says, clear as kind. Clear as kind. Touchy doesn't equal trustworthy. Because touchiness is not clarity on the situation. Touchiness is about as vague as it gets. If I am a new employee and I'm picking up touchiness from my trainer or from a leader, that's not clear. That's really unclear. All I'm getting is the vibes of you just don't like me, or you don't understand me, or I've rubbed you the wrong way. So be kind by being clear. Let's keep the touchiness out of it. Matthew says that a massive part of leadership is trust. He actually quotes John Maxwell, who says that leadership is influence. There you go again, influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Without trust, there's no influence. And he mentions how being able to admit your mistakes quickly and openly with those you lead is crucial to gaining and maintaining trust. However, the other side of that is learning from those mistakes as you'd expect those you lead to do as well. So let me back up quickly. I told you how sometimes it's those moments. You could be a great leader, but you could have those moments. Learn from those moments, right? I have been, in my dispatch career, I have a time or two been referred to as a supervisor sympathizer. I feel for leaders. I feel for leadership because I get that it's lonely at the mountaintop. And training, being a trainer is a type of leadership, but I'm talking even directly to directors and deputy directors and the managers on I get that. And I also get that you're human. And I know that sometimes that gets lost in the fray and it gets lost. You're human, which means you're going to have human moments sometimes. But I can respect a leader who can acknowledge I had a really human moment. I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm going to admit it. And I'm going to learn from it. Let's talk about the next pitfall of leadership, the lazy leader. So I want to say this. For me, personally, I think that's one of the biggest ones. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. I've had a lot of bosses in my life. And now, in recent years, I would say that I've had some great leaders. All right. When I started my career, way back, as a cashier at public supermarkets, I had some people I was like, that's a leader. And I didn't think of it. I was just like, that's a really good boss. And not so good a boss. But now I realize the difference, right? Oh, that was a real leader and everything. And the rest of them, they were just bosses. And in my recent years, I've worked under some great leaders. I can't say that I've ever worked under some just absolutely toxic leader. Again, I'm not diminishing that. I know of people who's had that experience. I know It's such a thing. But I'm not talking about toxic leaders. The reason why I didn't deliberately put in there, because I can't really talk about something I've had. I've had moments of toxicity. But this right here, I think is one of the biggest things that I've experienced. Y'all, leading effectively, training effectively, it's work. It's work. It's work. You need the passion, but you need passion and you need purpose. And purpose just adds the wind to your gears. I'm a big believer in passion. I love that. Let me tell you, there's a quote that I run into ever so often on LinkedIn, and I see it, and it's always like different variations, but it says the same thing, and it basically says how, uh, basically like one of the biggest concerns to an organization is when their passionate people suddenly go quiet, and that is so big to me. It's so big to me because I do believe in it. And I know of people in organizations and PSAPs who are so passionate. And I've seen recently where it's like, feel like they're growing silent. And that hurts me to my core because we can't lose the passion. But you've got to show the work. You've got to have work behind it. Steven says, the mistakes I've made. I told you, I love it. Steven Martini, just an absolute great leader in this industry, right? Great representative for us in APCO. And this man, he gives this insight, and he actually pulled from some of his own experience of the mistake he made. I told you how leaders, I get you're human. You make a mistake, own up to it, learn from it. He says, here's 2 mistakes I've made in the past. Number 1 was failing to engage with my team first when approached with an external accusation against them. He mentions how back in that time, he immediately went to them and confronted them in an accusatory manner, and only afterwards did he hear the rest of the story, which turned out to prove the accuser had been in the wrong. And here's the second mistake. He says when assuming responsibility for a new center, he says that he quickly identified the problems that needed to be fixed and set about fixing them before he paid proper homage to the way things had been. And he realized from that he needed to respect the team's actions to that point and offer a proper burial before he had birthed something new. Mistakes made, but truths learned. That's an effective leader for you. And that is work. Expect to have to put in the work. I don't want to hear another, well, I tried to get to know that you're a CTO. I tried to get to know my trainee. I was talking to him the other day. I thought I made progress, and now you thought it was overnight. You think you build trust in a day? Let me tell you something about me. Okay, I consider myself personally, not being braggadocious, but I fancy myself one of the most easygoing people around. I can be friendly. I can talk. I can laugh. We can have a good time. But you are not going to build trust with me in a day. You're not going to build trust with me in a car ride, in 2 car rides. You're not even going to build trust with me in just a month. Because I'm one of those, I'm a people watcher. I'm going to watch and observe. Now, some people have built up trust rather fast. And some, it may take more time. It's doable. I have a circle of people who I absolutely trust to call me out on the carpet and say, hey, that was a dumb decision. Hey, you weren't thinking. Hey, that was good, but now you're getting ahead of yourself. But expect that if I was your trainee, or if I was your new employee, you would have to put in the work to really build that trust. If you are a trainer or a leader and you're lazy about putting in the work to build that rapport with your people, don't expect them to be eager about accepting your feedback or your guidance or your supervision. And because of that, the quality of work that they should be producing, it might suffer. because trust is so crucial. Trust doesn't mean that, hey, we go hang out every day. I've had leaders where we didn't go out for coffee afterwards. But if you ask me if I trust them, sure do. If you're lazy, if you're lazy about how much you invest in the development of your people, they're going to realize. And they're not going to be very much invested in their own growth. I remember I was road tripping before with one of my coworkers back in the day, and we had this kind of chicken and the egg conversation. And it went like this. Whose job is it to be invested in one's professional growth? And I kind of came at it from my personal standpoint of feeling like, I pretty much on my own just kind of started putting myself out there and doing that. And I think it's great, having leadership that has came on and says, hey, I'll support you and everything. But I said, I think it's a personal thing. And their reasoning was different. They said, no, I think it is the organization's job. They said, I think it's on the responsibility, it's on the back of the PSAP, of the leadership there, to show the people, hey, to demonstrate there's ways you can grow, and I'm going to help facilitate that and support you. It's 50-50. All right? Because yes, I'm a big believer in betting on oneself and investing in yourself. But it is lazy leadership. It is lazy training to not want to pour into your employees, your trainees, your people, to help them to grow, to give them the resources to grow, to facilitate the growth. Not just you should do this, but how are you supporting them on that route? So back then I'm thinking, it's just a personal thing. It is part personal. Because you've got to be motivated too. You can have an excellent leader who gives all the tools. Doesn't mean the person takes it. So it's definitely work on both parts. But Rome wasn't built in a day. An effective trainer and trainee relationships, effective leader in employee relationships are not going to be built in a day as well. So if you want your people to listen, if you want your people to know and to believe that you truly have their best interests at heart, you're going to have to put in some work to show them that. You're going to have to put in some work to show I am truly invested in you growing. Even if that growth carries you out the door. But if that growth is taking you still to a level where you are benefiting someone other than yourself, and you're serving a higher purpose, and you are helping this industry and helping to grow this industry, then you'll be invested in that. And believe it or not, laziness, it's a kind of toxicity. Because anything toxic, it infects and it poisons. And if your leaders and your trainers are not inspiring, and they're not encouraging, and they're not demonstrating that they're invested in their trainees' growth or in new employees' growth, it's not just nothing's happening. Something's going to happen. You're going to lose people. Or you will be poisoning the very culture of your organization. So you got to put in the work. You absolutely have to put in the work. Caleb, you're right. I see in your comments, we have to see that our leaders actually care. And you're jumping ahead of the game because you're so right. And we're going to touch on that. But let's check out what Amy says here. Amy says, as a trainer, supervisor, leader, it's crucial to build a genuine and caring relationship with your people. You have to truly want them to succeed and be a part of your team. Get to know them on a personal level. Get to know their heart. It will make them want to work hard for you if they know that you truly care about them as a person and as a member of your team. The best thing I ever had was a boss who truly cared about me. And Amy, just dead on, absolutely correct. We're moving into the next pitfall of leadership, and that is the leader who's stuck in the past. And that goes for leadership and it goes for your trainers as well. Out with the old. Out with the old. I'm not saying throw it all out, right? We don't just throw out the baby with the bathwater. We understand that there's some policies, there's some procedures that's going to always be around because it's correct. It's just going to grow with the times. But if you are in a PSAP, if you are a trainer or a leader, and you realize, hey, we're just still doing the same old thing that we've been doing back when I started. That to me right there is a good test. I've been in this industry 8.5 years. If I was at a PSAP and I noticed that the same exact way that I was trained is the same way people are being trained 8.5 years later, and there was like no changes, I'd probably be concerned. Because there's going to be some change. There has to absolutely be some change. We need trainers and leaders. We need y'all to not resist all the new stuff. Look, don't ask me anything about Next Gen 911, all right? I don't know all the stuff, but I know it's happening. I know it's coming, and I know we have to adapt. I know that the answer is not to hide our head in the sand. I know we're going to have to improve some of our practices to match some of the newer technologies and methodologies that are coming in. I mentioned earlier about how we're attracting a neurodivergent population. In our PSAPs today, how are we addressing that? Are we using personality tests and assessments? Are we asking the questions about, hey, how do you learn? What is your learning style? We do realize not everybody learns with flashcards, right? Okay. You realize that not everybody learns just straight from a textbook. You might need the textbook as a tool in facilitating that learning, but how are we personalizing it to these trainees? Or is our attitude just, well, I'm sorry, it's if you trying to do something different, we do it this way here. We do it one way and that's it. Well, I guess your center must be fully staffed then. Because there's definitely new ways of doing things. Innovation is not the enemy. Resistance to change is definitely not our friend. In an industry full of just so many people that are willing, that want to get in this industry, that want to come and they want to learn and they want to grow in 911. But they're coming into PSAPs going, I don't think I'm going to get the training. I don't learn this way. And it just seems like there's no innovation. There's nothing here that's going to meet my learning needs. Juliet Brown in the comments here, she posted about fidget toys for classroom training. She said, so she has a box that she brings when I teach. That is a real thing. Okay. I remember one time I had a class of trainees and they were taking, I'll tell you what, they were certifying themselves for NIMS. That's what they were doing. They were getting certified, taking 100, 200, 700, 800, and asked them, hey, what do you need? And they were like, can we listen to some music? Okay. We put on some, like, it was just no vocals or anything, just some music on, easy listening. Put it on in the room. We shut the door. People, admin was walking by. What's going on in the room? Oh, they're just taking NIMS. They're getting certified. And they put some music on. Okay? New ideas, we can't just dismiss them. Are we asking our trainees who are fresh out of training, fresh out of academy, are we sitting down with them and go, oh, let's go over your training. What worked? What didn't? Or are we just content that, well, they made it out of training, so I guess everything worked? Maybe not. I'm a firm believer that if we want to build true investment in your people, if you really want them to feel like they are stakeholders in this industry, that they have a place, that they have a future in it, you've got to involve them. Ask their ideas. They're thinking to themselves, some of them are thinking, I've been here less than a year. I've got nothing to offer. Oh, yes, you do. You sure do when you're going to be the future trainees, excuse me, the future trainers, future supervisors. And either they're going to be reflecting back on their training and thinking about all the things that we did that they didn't like, didn't understand, that didn't work for them. And either they're going to be learning from that to not do those things, or they'll be repeating it. They'll be repeating the same old, same old. We want to stay competitive and relevant in an ever evolving world. We have to understand some things we've got to get rid of. And realize as well how outdated practices, outdated policies can lead to poor decision making. It can lead to ill-informed decision making. So how do we fight it? Continuous learning. I don't believe in people being grandfathered into leadership. Well, so-and-so's been a leader they've been a supervisor for 10 years now. And it's just, yeah, they do that, but it's just them. I don't mind them. They're an old dog, old tricks. Nah, I don't accept that. Continuous learning. I think everybody ought to continue growing. Some of the most effective leaders I know, directors, deputy directors, what have you, they're always learning. They're always seeking ways to grow. Ongoing education at all levels for all your people. I want your new employees to be going to continuing education and going and taking those classes. But are we sending our people who's been on the floor, been on the job, our trainers even, well, they've been a CTO for X number of years. Okay. Continuous education for them too, right? Because here's the thing. No one wants to take a phone call from someone who sounds like they just got released 5 minutes ago, right? We can all agree. Oh, yeah, they're so green. But nobody wants to take a phone call from someone that sounds like they've been in the job for 25 years and they absolutely hate life and hate the job. So continuous education, it's all about, yes, we want to grow our new people. We want to grow our trainees. But how are we refreshing our seasoned people as well? Even our supervisors, even our trainers who's been training for a while, because they can always learn too. So always evaluating our training of them, always evaluating our policies and recognizing there are some things that needs to go. It needs to go if we're going to continue to grow. Jay says, many years ago, I received my first and only write-up for how I chose to dispatch a call. She said, the write-up occurred because our policies were outdated, incomplete, and inflexible. Signing that write-up was a catalyst for me. What did she learn? She said, I realized that we spent more time and effort writing people up left and right than fixing the problem. Oh, no bad teachers. She took a lesson like that. She took a moment like that of failure. And what did she do? How did she turn it into something for herself of growth? She said that was the moment. Jay says, I chose to begin climbing the career ladder with the clear goal of finding these sorts of organizational and individual stumbling blocks and correcting them. Heather, you make a good point in the comments. You said, I've noticed those who would benefit from the training the most don't feel they need it and simply won't. That's deep right there. And it goes back to, again, that's passion to me. Passion isn't it's not just talking about the butterfly. Oh, the butterflies. And I just love my job. I do want you to love your job. I think it's absolutely capable of loving your job. I love supporting the headset heroes. I love getting to teach the headset. I love this industry. But the passion is that's it right there. It's either the passion for wanting to continue to better yourself, realizing that the world is changing, the times are changing, and with it, I need to continue to better myself. Whether I'm a supervisor, a leader, a trainer, I need to be going to training as well. Maybe it's just up for a refresher. Then let me go and refresh myself. D. Jeremy DeMar, he says this, And this is a good segue right into our final pitfall of leadership. He said, while we'd like to say the days of legacy management are over, there are still a few offenders out there, making the worst experience miserable for those in their charge. The most effective leaders actively engage and interact with their frontline folks. They make appearances outside of disciplinary proceedings. So not just every time, hey, come to the office, but they're making appearances and they're showing their face. Say, hey, just checking in, how you doing, whatever. And I want to skip to here. He said the days of they should be happy they have a job are over. Take care of your people or someone else will. That line right there can be addressed to every leader, every trainer in this industry. The days of thinking that the new trainee, the new employee, they should just be happy they have a job, that's done. That's done with. Take care of them or they'll be gone and they'll find someone else who will take care of them, who will inspire them, who will motivate them. The trainer who doesn't care. Caleb, you was ahead of the game already talking about it. You realize it costs less to care, right? It costs a heck of a lot less to care, to demonstrate to the people you have in your PSAPs that I care about you. I want to see you grow. I want you to be the best you can be. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to show that through the quality training that I give you. I'm going to do that by helping you invest in yourself while we also will invest in you. It costs a lot less to care than it does to lose someone. And now, go ahead, try to get some more people in. Got to train them from scratch. Got to bring them in, whatever. Costs a lot less to try to retain the people that we have. I go back to the quote I mentioned earlier, the one that I said I see a lot of times on LinkedIn. Every so often, I just hits me again, where it says the big concern to every organization is when your most passionate people go quiet. Y'all, people don't stay in places where they don't feel motivated, and they don't stay in places where they don't feel worthy, and they don't stay in places where they don't feel valued, and they don't stay in places where leaders or trainers aren't making that extra step to connect with them. They don't stay in places where they don't feel supported, and they don't stay in places where they don't have trust of the people who are supposed to be taking care of them. If I walked into your center today and I sat down with a brand new person and I talked to them and I said, hey, how much do you trust your CTO? How much do you trust your leadership? How much do you trust your agency? What are they going to say? Oh, but let's take it a step further. If I sat down, if I said, point me in the direction of the person who's been here the longest, and you say, hey, this person's been here about 30 years, 25 years, 20 years, let me sit with them and let me ask them what they will say about the culture of your workplace. If I ask them, hey, on the low, do you trust your supervisors? Do you trust your managers? Do you trust the trainers? Do you trust, I get that you've been here a while and you've been out of training. Do you trust the new crop of trainers that are training the people in your center? Do you even have trust of them? Do you trust that the people who are going to be your future coworkers who are currently in training are getting the best, most effective training? Do you even just trust on a basic level that your leadership even cares about you? What would they say? Because those are the things we need to be evaluating and assessing. Or don't. And we can continue to lose people. But that's a whole lot more costly. Care about your people's well-being. It's not just the words. Not just the words. It can't just be this rote thing that we just put out, or we oh, we put out a document or put out something here every once in a while, an email. Do they genuinely feel that you care about their mental well-being? I understand that doesn't mean that after every single bad call that you can get up and take a break. But are your people even feeling checked in? Or if there was a sign in your center that said, how many days, this is how many days since the last time I've checked in on this employee, are there some employees that will say that number would read a big zero? Because they can't think of the last time anyone has just checked in on them. And you realize it's not just the people you think that needs checking in. It's the people who even have been on the job a while. They may not look like they need checking in, but check in on them anyway. Because that's what support looks like. That's what valuing your people looks like. And that's how you keep people. Amy, in the comments I see you said the easiest thing to show you care is to check in on the dispatchers after a hard call. And it doesn't take that long, right? Right? It just takes a few seconds. Say, hey, by the way, I know it's what you do. I know this is our job to take bad calls sometimes. We get that. I'm not denying that. It doesn't change that you just can't come up and say, hey, just want to make sure you're okay. You okay? You need something? Do you need your bottle? You need your water bottle refilled? Do you need something? Anything? Shana says the supervisor's tone when speaking to a staff member speaks volumes on their leadership capabilities. The consistent tone of voice that you use with your staff also is a clear indicator of your subconscious feelings towards them. It's hard to lie in your tone. I said earlier, it could be the most sound advice. It could be great guidance. But if your people don't trust you, they don't truly trust you have as a leader, as their trainer, if they don't trust you have their best interests at heart, they're not going to listen. They're going to hear the tone. They're going to hear either you care or they're going to hear behind the words, you don't really care. She says, can you imagine that? Having a supervisor tell trainees that their goal is to make them cry before training is over? Can you imagine that being a goal of a supervisor? This is my big accomplishment. Now we're better than that, right? Well, we ought to be better than that. And my last quote here comes from the Queen, Karima. She said, I learned as a leader that I have to give some respite to my team sometimes. Just because I operate on 100% all the time, I can't expect everyone to follow that level of energy. She says, I've also learned to balance out expectations and to appreciate that everyone has a place in the solution, no matter their level of ability. One of the worst criticisms I think someone could say as an employee or as a trainee is to leave and to say, it's not that I don't think there's a future at this place. It's not that I don't think this is a great place. I know it's a great place. I know it's got a lot of amazing people. But I just don't see how I fit in that future. I don't see that there's a place for me. We don't treat our people with kindness and empathy. We don't show them that we value them. And I don't just mean after they've met, they have to have worked, 365 days. I'm talking about even in the initial stages of training, from the very beginning, from academic stages, from on-the-job training. I'm talking about as early as them being a trainee. If they're not feeling seen and heard and valued even then, they'll go somewhere where they're seen, where they're heard, and where they feel valued. That's all, folks. Just an awesome hour. And that is me. If y'all know anything about me, you know I'm on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is basically like my Facebook and my TikTok and everything. I love LinkedIn. Like, I don't even have a Facebook. So if you don't already follow me, hey, hit that QR code, scan it, and please follow me, whatever. And hit me up as well if you're interested in the PowerPoint. I'd love to send it to you. I know this is my passion, and I'm so sore for many of y'all watching. I know y'all passionate as well. You're here attending in the first place because you want to learn and you want to grow, and you're already awesome, incredible people. So thank y'all for having me, and the rest of y'all in the lineup. Thank y'all for just sharing that, letting me have this hour. I don't know how how I even held my own against all of y'all, but thank y'all. Hey, Ricardo, where you at, man?
As always, amazing. Man. So I didn't put it in the comments. I was going to, but I didn't want to throw you off or anything. I was gonna say, damn, Sam dropping some truth bombs. But I thought I would wait to just say it on screen. Well done. Well done. Holy moly. That was super good. And I'm also glad that you're part of the community that I'm building as well, because people can get a hold of you there too.
Yeah.
And if it's okay with you, I want to add the PowerPoint to the community as well, and then people can contact you, or not just that, but build upon everything that you were saying, and people can connect together beyond the event and continue. Because one of the things that I'm going to do with that community,
Hmm.
which I haven't mentioned yet, but I'll mention here and I'll mention now, is that that community also gives the ability to hold community events and discussions and all this other stuff. So a version of this would will end up being done over there, where we could also talk about this and have a bunch of people, there to talk through it and just share a bunch of different things. So if you're part of the community, there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be building with that, and I'm excited for it, but also just so damn proud of you and everybody who's been a speaker and everyone who's in the comments. All of you are amazing. Thank you. And I also have a bunch of notes that I've been taking as well. So this was really, really good. You always amaze me. Thank you. Your passion, just all of it, is superb. And if you get a chance,
Hmm.
make sure to jump into those comments and read even more, because man,
Oh man,
there was nothing but love in there, and that was
awesome.
really good.
Love y'all.
And
Thank you, brother.
you ended up getting that one song stuck in all of our heads at the
You
beginning
know,
there.
come on
So
now. I love that. Nope, y'all didn't fail me at all. Y'all were on it right then.
that's right.
Y'all were on it. I love it.
Hell yes. Yes, I second that, Julie. Amazing Samantha Hawkins. Dropping the mic and truth bombs. That's what I'm talking about. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And then everyone else, again, please make sure to join the community and stuff, and we can all continue more of this discussion, other discussions as this week goes along. We are coming up to the closing session of Pre-Con Day here for Dare to Be Great. And coming up next is going to be Roxy Van Gundy, and she's going to be doing a session called Lead Loud. Woo wee. All right. We will see you all in the next one.